anxietycenter.com.
So yeah, I basically I ran into my issues kind of this year, February, March. Kind of had a health scare. I was out of the country, and I had never considered myself to be a worrier before then, but it put me into it got me stimulated, and then I got afraid of the sensations and went down a wormhole.
Yeah.
But by using your website almost religiously, day after day, for a while was the only thing I could read that would keep me calm. And it was a lifesaver for me. And all of a sudden, yeah, I just I got to the point where I just wasn't really afraid of my symptoms anymore. And as soon as that hit, it opened up a whole new world of all my fears kind of started to fade away. And since then, my mind, the mind lock on anxiety has dissipated.
Great.
And it's just it's slowly getting there. I still, my mind goes back to it probably more than I would like, but it's not anywhere near. My mind is slowed down to I don't know what normal pace is anymore, but it's not what it. I'm not where it's just an amazing thing when you can finally get yourself there. And I just kind of wanted to let everybody know that there is an endpoint to this. If you can get just get to the point where you don't fear the anxiety anymore. It's a weird thing to say, and it took me forever to convince myself of it. But it's wonderful once you can get there. Now I'm just kind of at the point where I'm letting my body just kind of die down, and because I still have some symptoms, but they don't really bother me, and they're not preventing me from doing the things I love to do anymore.
Oh, great. You've made good progress in such a short time.
Yeah, it ratcheted up really fast. And then, and yeah, like I said, that the body's still trying to calm down. And something that I did a ton of meditating. I don't know if everybody else enjoys it, but the sleepless nights, I kind of looked at those as a chance for me to get some more meditation hours in. And eventually, kind of like what you said in your sleep, paragraphs there, the sleep section, that once you get to the, once you quit trying to fight sleep, it just kind of comes naturally. And, for a while I was only getting 2 or 3 hours. I could fall asleep easily and I'd wake up at 2:30, and all of a sudden now I'm getting a full 6-7 hours of sleep, and I'm kind of going, well, I'm missing out on my meditation time.
Yes. That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, there's still some things. I used to be big into climbing at the climbing gym, and I don't know if my body's quite ready for that yet. I don't want to, over push things. I'm still trying to get over a couple things, but, so there's a couple things I'm still putting on the back burner, but, yeah, it's just, I just pretty much just wanted to share that. And, it's, and some things I've kind of reflected on too, just how natural of a process this whole thing is. I recently got myself a new cat, and I got it as it was a stray, and it was at the Humane Society. And I don't know if anybody's ever had a new cat before, but they're usually extremely frightened when you first bring them home, and they'll hide under the couch for a couple of weeks. And it's almost like their bodies are exhibiting exactly what happens to us when we go through, theirs doesn't really do to worry, because I don't think they have the, ability to worry, but just being in a new situation, their bodies basically get hyperstimulated, or at least in a form of that. And they kind of just naturally know, I need to sit here and sleep and rest. And all of a sudden they come out and they start playing with their toys, and they're relaxed, and they're a completely different cat. And it's amazing to me how similar other animals, can be in that same situation. And it just kind of puts my mind more at ease that, hey, this is just a normal thing that that can happen. And you just have to kind of get to the point where you're not worrying about anything anymore, which is really hard to do when your mind is set on worry.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. And I guess the other thing, I heard some people, the scary, or the thoughts that, and the obsessive thoughts, for me, what kind of worked was I just kind of let it run. There's certain things I would try to talk back to, but for the most part, I just kind of let it run and just didn't react to it. And the same thing with going into situations that I'd created fears for, I just went, go ahead and shock me. You know, if you're going to shock me, shock me. I don't even care anymore. And all of a sudden, you know, I'd get a little, you know, my face would blush. And then the next time, maybe my hands would tingle a little bit. And all of a sudden I wasn't getting, you know, and then maybe I'd feel a little bit of something go through me. And then also my fears just kind of dissipated because I kind of was just telling the body, go ahead and do it. I don't care anymore. And that for me was a huge stepping stone. And I don't know if that, you know, will work for everybody, but for me, that was just kind of the way that I was able to just go, you know what, if I'm going to feel something, I'm going to feel something, and I'm just going to go out and do what I want to do. And eventually it kind of helped to alleviate the fear, if that makes sense.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Cause it's like the old approach by saying, okay, bring it on. Give me your best shot.
That's exactly where I started to tell myself. And I still get every now and then I'll get a little, you know, for some of my old fears, kind of a little anxiety beforehand or just a thought. And I'm just going, okay, I don't care anymore. I'm just going to go. And the more and more I do that, the fewer thoughts I have leading up to things. And I can just kind of feel it slowly losing its grip on me.
Yep. Yeah. And that's a perfect approach. You bet. Because and everything you're doing, you're not engaging the worry. You're not afraid of you're telling yourself not to be afraid. Well, of course, the body doesn't go into anxiety if it's not afraid.
Yeah, so and it takes a while. You can't just do it once or twice.
Oh yeah. Oh no, that's
you have to really, you know, really, because you have to convince yourself of it, and then you have to convince other parts of yourself too, which seems really weird to say, but
yeah, yeah. And that's the extinguishing part: is we have to convince the established threat that it's no longer a threat. And you're doing all those things, and you know, challenging the threat when it pops up is the perfect way to do it. You bet. Yeah.
Yeah. And one thing that really helped, and it was just kind of one day I was going through the site, and you had, I was reading the comments section, and there was somebody at one point, I think he listed his name as like Aaron C, and another point it was Aaron, and it took me a while to figure out, but it was the same guy 2 years later, and at one point he wrote, you know, he had just kind of got over his fear of panic attacks, and he's just waiting for his body to settle down, and then at another point he's like, it's 2 years later, you know, you can kind of tell roughly from, you know, he's like, I haven't written in for about 2-3 years, and, you know, I feel great. I don't think about this anymore. It just happened to come up because, you know, and he kind of told the whole story he had before. I went, wow, this is the same guy. Like, you can actually get to the point where you don't think about this anymore. Because that was a big fear of mine, was how will I ever get over thinking about this? Because this is all I think about all day long, and I can't think of anything else to think about.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
And, you know, I couldn't even remember what I used to think about all day long. And all of a sudden, my mind is, you know, slowly going away from thinking about it. It's a crazy thing when you can finally get there.
Yeah, totally.
And it's slow still, because it doesn't, you know, it's not like I just wake up and it's, you know, my thoughts are completely clear. But every day I feel like it's a little bit, you know, less of a lock than it was before.
Yeah.
And it's definitely something, if you can, you know, just kind of, you know, contain the worry and just tell yourself, I'm not gonna, like you've said before, I guess, fall for that trick anymore. Or, you know, I try my best to ignore it, which I get is a very difficult thing to do, because it's hard to ignore thoughts for that long. But the more you do, the easier it becomes, and the less they can, you know, the less bothersome they become.
Yeah, that's definitely a level 1 recovery right there, especially overcoming the fear of anxiety and how it feels. You bet. Yeah.
And I'm still gonna. Well, my whole thing was a health scare. I know that's what got me in there. That COVID kind of didn't help me any, and I decided to travel during COVID, and I wasn't sure if I could get back because I thought I had caught it, and I thought I was gonna be stuck in a country where they didn't speak English, and I'm like, how am I going to communicate? What am I going to do for 10 days? And, you know, I really, and it's amazing how quickly you can ratchet yourself up when you're worried about, and then once I passed the COVID test, I thought at that point, my body was so out of whack that I thought I had every disease under the sun. And I right away, when I got back to the US, I got tested for malaria because I was convinced I had malaria. and even when I went in, I knew I didn't have it.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you how many different things I went in for before I finally went, oh, wait, I came across your site and figured out what it was. And then my mind locked on, and yeah, there we went.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
but
Good
yeah,
for you.
there's definitely a light at the end of the tunnel. That's kind of just what I wanted to tell people is there's definitely a way through it. You just have to almost do what's uninstinctual at that point and just kind of let things go.
Yeah.
And just kind of let it run, and it'll run its course. And eventually, the less you pay attention to it, and the less emphasis you put on your worries, the mind eventually decides to relax and quit trying to play those tricks on you.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Well said. Yeah, you've done well in such a short period of time. It's good for you. That's a lot of work.
Yeah. Well, thanks. Your site was a huge blessing for me.
Oh, good. Glad you found it helpful. Yeah. No, all the things you said are absolutely true. If we can contain that worry and not react to it, we just lose a whole lot of anxiety, which helps the body recover, and away we go. Yeah, you bet. Now that's level 1 recovery.
Yeah.
Level 2, it's a different story. The behaviors. For example, if a person wasn't anxious, you wouldn't have reacted to the medical scares that you had. There would have been a more balanced reaction than spiking the anxiety up. So there's probably some medical sensitivities there. That's kind of level 2 stuff. But the level 1 stuff you got in good hand, and it'll just be a matter of time until you've forgotten all about it. So good for you.
Yeah. And part of me is kind of glad it happened now than when I had a real medical emergency.
Yes.
I can't imagine going through both at the same time.
Yeah, totally.
So, I kind of almost look at it as a blessing, as going, well, later in my life, when I do have something, it'll be nice to know how to react differently.
That's a good point. Yeah, you bet. Yeah, because you'll have a good understanding of anxiety, what it does to the body, and how you don't have to respond to the body on top of the other things you're dealing with. So that's great. Yeah.
Yeah, and we never learn that worry can cause an issue. So
Yeah,
like
totally.
that's never taught to you that excessive worry can do such a toll on the body and the mind.
Yeah.
And the mind part of it was the craziest part of it all for me anyway, because I wasn't used to just the thoughts and they come at you at such a weird angle.
Yes, they sure do. Yeah.
But even looking back, I kind of don't even really remember what most of my thoughts. I know what they were about, but I don't really remember them that well anymore. Which is a nice thing too, because I thought I'd always have that burned in the back of my brain. But for some reason, I remember that I felt like I was tethered. No matter what my thought was, it was like a tether ball. And I could get a little bit far away from anxiety, but it would always circle back.
Right.
But I don't really remember, what I was thinking, if that makes sense.
Yeah. But again, you covered a lot of ground in a short period of time, so a lot of thoughts under the bridge there.
Yeah. And I guess one other thing that really worked well for me is I wasn't doing a good job with the deep breathing. I was doing a lot of meditating. And then one day I just kind of, I got home and from work and laid in bed and just, I deep breathed for like an hour or so, or through relaxed breathing. And that was one of my first stepping stones too, where it got my body finally into a nice relaxed state for a while. And I think I was doing like the box breathing technique. It was like the four seconds in, hold for 4, release for 4, and hold for 4.
Yep.
And I focused on that for like a straight, pretty much an hour. And I went, okay, my body can settle down again, because, obviously it would ratchet back up a little bit after that. But I went, okay, it can come back down.
Yes.
And that was a huge relief too, just to kind of, the first couple times you can feel that. And then when you have a couple of the symptoms that you had that really scared you, for me initially was kind of the tingling, and I did the whole MS thing that I think a lot of people go down.
Yeah.
And, once I realized that could go away, it was a huge, relief. And now I just kind of, now that symptom doesn't even really faze me at all when it comes in. It's just kind of, well, I know what it is and it'll fade away again.
Yeah. And those are good confidence builders when you know that your natural tools do work if you work at them. Yeah.
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 But yeah, the main thing, I guess, again, I just wanted to let everybody know there's, because I had doubts for a long time too.
Yeah.
Reading the site and, is this for real? Can this really happen? And, can I do this? All those things kind of, and I'm sure a lot of people have had those same thoughts, but
Yeah.
um, the more you go at it, the more, you can just kind of relax and ride the wave. The easier it becomes. Like almost every day is easier than the day before.
Yeah.
Now, and which is, and even if it's not, I tell myself that.
Yes. You've done great. Yeah. And those are all good words of wisdom. So a lot of those things work for me as well. Yeah.
Yeah. And I definitely wish everybody the best, because it's definitely something that, that can be overcome. And it's definitely time. I'm kind of, I want to do a bicycle trip next year, and I'm hoping my body's, at that point. If not, I'll just wait another year and do it then. But those are all things that I've been looking forward to. Going, okay, now I just need to really focus in on getting my recovery good, so I can do the things I want to do next year. And it's kind of fun to look forward to things that way again.
Yeah, totally. And because you've done the work now, you won't ever have to do it again. You have the tools, and they'll work for you. And as you keep anchoring them, you'll feel real confident about them. So this will be a non-issue for you from here on out. So that's great. And I really appreciate you coming on the call to let other people know that you've had that success and where you were like everyone else, and to give them hope, because a lot of people listen to this and just like I think most of us when we start, it's like, yeah, that's not going to work for me, maybe for everybody else, but not for me. And as you start getting results, it really is encouraging to know that some of these basic things really will pay off if we work at them.
Yep. Yeah. You kind of, you can go down the the negative pattern, which you describe in there, and then all of a sudden once you start turning that thing around and you're going up the positive pattern, it works in the same way.
Yeah.
Where the more you gain confidence, the better that pattern becomes, and the more the body heals, and the more, it kind of all works together, going the other direction. Instead of spiraling down, it spirals up again.
Yep. Yeah. Totally.
And yeah, and sometimes it took a couple of months for me to really see anything, and then all of a sudden it's weekly I'm going, wow, I remember what I was thinking last week or how I was feeling, and I was feeling good then, but I'm feeling better now. And then you can look back and just go, wow, you can, after a while, it just kind of, it snowballs in a positive way.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. And that's good for people to hear, because again, so many people, really question whether this is going to work or whether it's hocus pocus or whatever. But yeah, the basics work. The body responds. I love what you said too. Just as we can spiral our anxiety up, we can bring it down, and just using our natural tools and some determination.
Yep. Yeah. And then, and sometimes, all of a sudden the body does some weird thing and I go, oh, wow, that was weird,
Yeah.
But it's just kind of at the point now, and enjoy maybe is not the right way to put it, but I kind of go, I'm almost going to miss some of these things, because it's, it's an adventure right now.
It certainly is an adventure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, and it might, and I get it. I would have thought this would have sounded weird too at some point, but at some point you just kind of get to the point and go, it is what it is. I'll probably never feel that sensation in my head again that I'm feeling right now. And,
yeah.
But eventually that'll go away, and, and when it does, it does.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
that's great approach. Yeah. That's excellent approach. You bet. Yeah. Like everything you said, that's wonderful. So thank you for sharing with that. I'm sure a lot of people are going to really find that helpful.
Yeah, no, I hope they do, because there is definitely, there's definitely light at the end of the tunnel, and I can see the light now, and it's just a matter of getting myself there.
Yeah, stay in the course.
And time and patience.
Yeah. That's one of our things, is that patience. Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess the only other thing, and I know there's all sorts of ways of meditating and everybody has their thing. I was using the Headspace app. And the one thing I really enjoyed about it is there's a little saying before every meditation that you go into. And a lot of them really help me out to, just a lot of it's about being patient and letting the mind, catch up and to get to where it needs to be. And the mind doesn't work overnight. And I mean, they talk a lot about the same things that you talk about. It was just nice to have another voice telling me that.
Yeah.
And to have that before you get into the, it would calm me down a little bit before the meditation, and then they guide you through it. That was another really beneficial thing for me was that app. And I maybe, we don't want to be, I don't know how you're are for promoting other people, but for something that really helped me. So I just wanted to throw that out there too for people was, it was, yeah. And something that I'll probably use for the rest of my life, even if I miss a couple of days here and there.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a nice little calm place to be every now and then.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. No, I a lot of people comment about that, and I think whatever helps a person, feel good about things, that's what we can do, and encourage all of that. So, and technology is changing like crazy. There's going to be new things coming up too. So, yeah, whatever you find that helpful is beneficial. So, yeah, absolutely, Headspace. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Awesome.
another one too is Calm, isn't it? There's another app that people like is Calm.
Yeah. I never tried that one. I kind of ended up with ended up with a Headspace. I think because it was on Netflix at first.
Oh, okay.
They've got, if anybody wants to watch, they kind of, I did some of their Netflix ones first, and then I saw they had an app for the phone and went that way. And then I saw Calm was a thing, but I didn't want to pay for two of them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure there'll be others too as time goes on. So yeah, awesome. Well, Chris, again, thanks so much for sharing that information. It's wonderfully encouraging, you bet.
Yeah, no problem. And yeah, like I said, I wish everybody the best, and it's definitely something that's doable if you can just just kind of you just have to get used to this is where you're at the moment, but it's not a permanent thing, and the more you can convince yourself of that, the easier everything gets.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks so much again. Appreciate it.